Yesterday, Sayadaw explained Jesan Kesanji, Sattaro Satipatthana, Virata, Virato Tesan Ariyo Mako Samadukha Khayagami. Meaning that the person who fails to practice Satipatthana meditation will slip away from the Ariya Magga, the noble path that leads to the cessation of the suffering systematically. If the person does not note the full fields of objects to be noted, if the person is not mindful of the presently arising object that is arising at the present moment, the mind will not be calm and collected. The mind will go here and there, and one ends up committing wrongdoing by body and speech if there is lack of mindfulness. Mostly people have their mind going on sensual objects, and one can break the sila morality. If the person breaks the sila morality, then there will be no moral conduct, and the person will be inferior and degraded. Not being mindful of the presently arising object, the mind will be inferior, and the person will fail to refrain from things that should be refrained from. One should have saddha, faith and confidence to refrain from wrongful things, so that the person's bodily behavior and verbal behavior will be blameless, pure and clean. When the person's bodily behavior and verbal behavior become pure and clean, the person will be human. And as the person practices Satipatthana meditation, the viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration will be fulfilled. When the noting mind is aimed onto the object, when the mind is face to face and direct with the object, his or her mind will be developed. Having viriya, effort does not accept kilesa defilements from arising. Viriya repels the defilements. In other words, viriya, effort, blocks the way of unwholesomeness and opens the way of wholesomeness. Having sati, mindfulness, the mind is guarded, protected, so that the defilements cannot enter the mind, and the mind is safe and secure away from the defilements. As the mind is not captivated by the defilements, there will be freedom and peace. The mind will not be agitated with raga. The mind will not be agitated with dosa or moha, and thus there will be happiness and peace. The kind of happiness is not the sensual happiness, but it is the happiness gained through the practice of Dhamma. There will be peace in the mind being pure, clean, gentle, cultured, lovable, being away from priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilement. And the mind has peace, gentleness, and the mind is pure and clean. And by having samadhi sikha, concentration training, the mind will be pure, high and noble, and one is overcoming priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements, moment by moment, systematically, so that these defilements have no chance to arise. And thus, the person is said to be reaching the state where the defilements are coming to a cessation momentarily by systematic practice. By being mindful, the defilements are away, the defilements are removed moment by moment. So there is prevention and curing of the defilements by having viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration. And the person's mind is uplifted. His or her bodily behavior and verbal behavior are pure and clean, and thus the person is a true human. As the mind is proper, being away from obsessive defilements, the person has a humane mind. In this way, the person can uplift oneself by the practice of samadhi sikha, concentration training. It is not possible to uplift oneself by mundane education. It is not possible to uplift oneself by material wealth or with good standard of life. It is not possible to uplift oneself by having physical defense, but it is only possible to uplift oneself by the practice of satipatthana meditation. By developing samadhi sikha, concentration training, the mind is free from obsessive defilements, and thus the person's mind is high and noble. So it is quite good to be developing samadhi sikha, concentration training. But at this stage, the person has not developed knowledge into nama rupa. As the person has not developed knowledge into nama rupa, the latent, dormant defilements are still to be removed. One should develop knowledge in order to weaken and suppress latent, dormant defilements. By the practice of sila, morality, gross defilements are removed. When the mind is calm and clean, by samadhi, concentration, priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements will be removed momentarily. But one still needs to weaken and remove anusya kilesa, latent, dormant defilements that has been following throughout the person's life. So one should weaken, suppress and uproot latent, dormant defilements. So one has to practice in order to develop knowledge. By developing knowledge, one can weaken, suppress and uproot latent, dormant defilements. In noting the object, the person's noting mind is aimed onto the object, and as the person becomes skillful in the practice, the noting mind automatically becomes aimed and direct onto the object, and there will be samma sankappa, right application. When the noting mind is direct or face to face with the object, the person discern, and samadhi, right view, will develop. As Sayadaw had promised to explain about Satipatthana, there will be explanation what is Satipatthana. In the practice, the noting mind is aimed onto the object, directing the noting mind onto the object is one of the jhanic factors, and Sayadaw will explain what is jhana briefly, or till the yogi understands the definition of jhana from theory, practice, and also the combination of theory and practice, so that the benefit will be explained. And today Sayadaw will explain what is sati, and also Sayadaw will explain what is satipatthana. One should be developing viriya, sati, and samadhi, efforts, mindfulness, and concentration every single second within oneself. By developing viriya, sati, and samadhi every single second, one has to weaken the momentum of the defilements. So one has to practice in order to develop viriya, sati, samadhi, in order to weaken the momentum of defilement, in order to stop the momentum of defilement. By developing viriya, sati, samadhi, one is preventing the defilement from arising. By developing knowledge, one has to weaken the defilement that has been strong throughout the round of existences. And Sayadaw gives the example of boxing. In the boxing match, there are two opponents. The person has to avoid the powerful blow from the opponent, so that one does not get hit by the opponent's blow. So the player must have the skill to avoid the powerful blow from the opponent. In the same way, yogi has to avoid the blows from the defilements by being mindful of every arising object. If there is lack of mindfulness, the defilements have chance to arise. Having mindfulness, the defilements have no chance to arise. In the boxing match, the boxer has to avoid blows from the opponent skillfully. Being able to avoid the powerful blow from the opponent, the boxer will not get weak. If the boxer is able to give the opponent a powerful blow, then the opponent will get weak for that blow, and one has to keep on giving powerful blow to the opponent so that the opponent gets weaker and weaker. And at the same time, the boxer has to avoid the blow from the opponent. And whenever the boxer has the opportunity, he should give a powerful blow to the opponent so that the opponent gets weaker and weaker. The more number of blows that the boxer gives to the opponent gets weaker and weaker. And when the opponent is getting weaker and weaker, the blows coming from him will also be weaker and weaker. And finally, the boxer has to give a final blow in order to knock out the opponent. In the same way, practicing meditation is just like having a boxing match with the defilements. Yogi has to be mindful in order to avoid the blows from the opponent, which is defilement. And at the same time, yogi has to give powerful blow to the defilement by being mindful of every arising object. So yogi has to note the object with sati, mindfulness. Yogi has to exert ardent efforts in the practice so that mindfulness will be sustained. And the mind will fall calm and collected on the object. So in this way, there is the momentum of viriya, effort, momentum of sati, mindfulness, and thus the mind will be calm and collected on the object. When the noting mind is calm and collected on the object, the mind will not be distracted, the mind will not be strayed. As the mind falls calm and collected on the object, the mind will not be agitated by raga, the mind will not be agitated by dosa or moha. Being free from the agitation of defilements, the mind will be calm, steady, and collected, and there will be peacefulness moment by moment, by the momentum of samadhi concentration. Developing knowledge, one can remove the wrong views. Discerning nama and rupa distinctly, one removes the wrong view of person, being, or soul. Discerning cause and effect, one removes the wrong view of ahetuka ditthi, causeless view. Discerning that relevant cause gives rise to relevant effect, one will remove visama hetuka ditthi, fictitious cause view. So in this way, discerning relevant cause giving rise to relevant effect, one removes the wrong view of creator, one removes the wrong view of visama hetuka ditthi, fictitious cause view. As the person continues the practice, the person discerns the impermanence. Discerning the impermanence, yogi removes the wrong view of permanent. And in this way, yogi will remove the wrong view of the atta being good and permanent, and yogi will also remove the wrong view that things are arising according to one's wishes. So in this way, discerning impermanence, suffering, and non-self, one will no longer take things as permanent. One will no longer think that seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching is permanent and good. By discerning the arising and passing away of the nama rupa, one discerns the characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self, and wrong views are removed moment by moment. So when the yogi gets to the state of discerning the fast arising and passing away, yogi gains upper hand of the defilement. And at the stage when the yogi overcomes the defilements by discerning the fast arising and passing away of the object, there will be happiness and peace. There will be happiness and peace overcoming the defilements. So when the yogi overcomes the defilements, yogi gains happiness and peace that the yogi does not want to withdraw from the practice. So when the yogi gets to the stage of discerning fast arising and passing away of the object, yogi will not withdraw, but continue the practice. And at the stage where discerning the fast arising and passing away of the object, the happiness excels many times than the worldly happiness. In Parityāga, giving up the worldly pleasure in order to practice, when the yogi attains the Udiyakaya Jnana, there will be much happiness in the Dhamma, and thus there will be Parigaha. Yogi gains the Dhamma happiness that excels many times than the worldly happiness. The worldly happiness cannot match the Dhamma happiness. So Dhamma happiness has no other comparison. Yogi must regard himself, herself, like a boxer in a boxing match. A boxer has to be very careful not to be punched by the opponent. And the boxer must always be careful, always be eager in playing, and always be skillful. And the boxer has to avoid the blows from the opponent and always look for the opportunity to give the opponent a powerful blow so that the opponent gets weaker and weaker. So there are two things the boxer must do in the boxing match. The first thing is to avoid the powerful blow from the opponent skillfully. And the second is to take the opportunity to give the opponent a powerful blow. So in this way, the boxer should always be careful, always get the opportunity to give the opponent the powerful blow, and always be alert without any gaps in between, so that the boxer can give the opponent a powerful blow. In the same way, yogi has to be always mindful to avoid the powerful blow from the kilesa defilement. If there is lack of mindfulness, the defilement will give the yogi a powerful blow. And also, yogi should give a powerful blow to the defilement by having mindfulness. Yogi should not have any leniency to the defilement. If the yogi is lenient to the defilement, then the yogi will suffer. In this way, yogi should always take the opportunity to give the powerful blow to the defilement, so that yogi gains upper hand of the defilement. A true yogi must not be having any leniency. A true yogi must never be lenient to the defilements that has been giving the most trouble throughout the round of existence. Yogis should be relentless on the defilements, and yogis should always take the opportunity to overcome the defilements in a systematic way. Yogis have to avoid the transgressive defilements from arising, and also by the practice of Viriya, Sati and Samadhi, yogis should suppress the obsessive defilements that can arise in the mind, so that the momentum of the obsessive defilements will become weaker and weaker. The noting mind should fall calm and collected on the object. So yogis should not be lenient to the defilements. Yogis should keep on noting to weaken the defilements by developing knowledge. And finally, yogi has to totally uproot the defilements. In order to uproot the defilements, yogi should continuously keep on giving powerful blow to the defilements again and again, repeatedly, continuously, so that the defilements will become weaker and weaker. And finally, yogi has to give the last blow so that the defilements cannot arise again. The yogis who are here, some of them, they do sitting meditation and walking meditation, at times stopping the practice, gazing, looking around, thinking, imagining, and they are doing the daily activities such as sitting, standing, bending, stretching without mindfulness. So such kind of yogis do not have compassion for themselves. The yogi who has compassion for oneself, who does not want to be captivated by the defilements, should always be mindful. It is very important to stop the defilements. It is very important to weaken, suppress the defilements. And most important of all, yogis should be cruel to the defilements. And yogis should always avoid the powerful blow from the defilements. And at the same time, yogis should take the opportunity to give the powerful blow to the defilements so that the defilements get weaker and weaker. If the yogi is not mindful, if the yogi is sloppy in the practice, such kind of yogi will get powerful blows from the defilements. So it will be the yogi who is always losing to the defilements. The yogi will get defeated by the defilements, and it will be taking much time. Even though 2 months have passed away, even though 2 months have passed by without any progress in the practice. So yogis should understand the benefit of Satipatthana practice. In the earlier talks, Sayadaw explained the benefit of Satipatthana practice, that Satipatthana has the benefits such as purification of the mind and so on. So yogis should understand the benefits of Satipatthana practice. Yogis should have faith and confidence in the practice. Yogis should have eagerness in the practice so that they should practice with diligent effort. So yogis should regard themselves just like a boxer in a boxing match. Yogis should avoid the blows from the defilements. yogi should give the powerful flow to the defilements so that yogi will gain the upper hand. But Sayadaw says, Sayadaw does not feel encouraged to see some of the yogis gazing here and there, looking here and there, their hands moving here and there while walking. And such kind of yogi, such kind of sloppy practice will not be encouraging for the person who sees the sloppy yogi. So it is very important to practice diligently, always be mindful, so that whoever who sees the yogi will feel impressed with the yogi. So it is very important to make benefit while having this rare opportunity to practice. So a boxer may have time to rest after the boxing match, but yogi have no rest apart from sleeping hours. There is no rest for yogis apart from sleeping hours. From the time the person wakes up until the person goes to bed, yogi has to be noting, being mindful continuously. And the meditation teacher will make corrections if there are any mistakes in the yogi, and the meditation teacher will give marks if the yogi is doing things right. A true yogi must understand the benefits and the qualities of Satipatthana practice and have faith and confidence in the practice. Also, it is very important for the yogi to have strong will to practice. Such kind of yogi will be able to assert initial effort, step up effort stage by stage, to overcome laziness, and culminating effort till one reaches one's goal. If the viriya effort is strong, the sati, mindfulness, will not be ordinary. Yogis should also understand the meaning of satipatthana. When noting the presently arising object with effort, directing the noting mind onto the object, sati, mindfulness, will stick onto the object. That the sati, mindfulness, become outstandingly strong. And at that stage, yogi will understand through his or her experience of practice the meaning of Satipatthana. And tomorrow Sayadaw will continue to explain the meaning of Satipatthana from both theoretical and practical aspects. This will be all for today. Sadhu.